Okay, well, the title for this, which I hope you'll see when we do the film of this, courtesy of my good friend Brett, who will edit this for you, is really making a difference, because that's what I think we're concerned about. We've got an attainment challenge now in Scotland. We've got another challenge, which is about closing the gap and making a difference for those young people who've been most disadvantaged in terms of our society. And if we're really going to make a difference, I think what we need to recognise is that we can't do that simply within schools. We need to recognise a number of things. One, I think we need to recognise that for some of those children whose attainment we most need to raise, we need to part the nettles. We need to support them. We need to find different ways in to learning for them. The problem for so many of these young people is that they don't believe in learning, they don't believe in education, and it's not something that's ever had a benefit for them or for their families. We need to recognise that in the title of probably one of the most famous works in educational research, schools only have 15,000 hours, and frankly that's never going to be enough to make the difference that requires to be made for some of our young people. I've been doing a great deal of work recently with Suzanne Zurich and her team, and one of the things which we've realised as I've done that work is that we can't transform the lives of children unless we transform the lives of families. And we can't transform the lives of families in some sort of colonial enterprise where we impose our values, different approaches to child rearing, all of these things on them. We can only do it if we work with them, if we empower families to make changes for themselves, if we allow families to have some control over what's happening to them and how that's shaped for their children. If we're going to do that, we need family learning teams. We need community learning and development. We need to recognise that social mobility, which is often claimed to be the goal of education and indeed the goal of Scottish Government, can sometimes do more to undermine communities than to promote them. That often what happens when we have social mobility is that the most talented young people, those who have the best chance of making progress, make that progress and leave their community behind. We need to think more carefully about the old adage that one should rise with one's community and not beyond it. We need to recognise that we're really only going to succeed in making a difference if we work together. One of the things that's been striking around Suzanne's work is the emphasis on adverse childhood experiences and the way that these damaging experiences for young people translate into their biology and have a direct effect on how the brain works, how they think. This work's well known, and there are other people far better equipped to talk about it than I. But if we have young people who have these challenges in terms of the biology of stress, we need also to look at the science of hope. And that means thinking clearly about how we can find purchase in their lives, with them, not to them. And as we do that, I think we also need to recognise that it's often been the partnerships in communities and around schools that's proven to be truly successful in terms of really making a difference for young people. We know that making a difference in literacy can't just be about phonics, no matter how jolly they might be, nor indeed how plastic or organic they might be. What we need to recognise is that it's often to do with health and well-being. I work a lot with a young man called Chris Kilkenny, whom I often talk about. And Chris talks about things like being too hungry to learn, about being too stressed to learn, about having too much going on in his mind, too many things to think about to learn. We're not going to make the kind of difference that we want to make. We're not going to close the gaps that we want to close unless we recognise that we close them with the families from which these young people come. Unless we recognise that ultimately the experience of these young people is not simply rooted in the classroom, but is rooted in their wider experience of life, we need to include and we need to address that. Schools have got funding now, pupil equity funding. And I hope that sometimes they will recognise that that money might be better not spent directly in the classroom. Certainly not spent on tracking and on testing and all of the other techniques that people might advocate as means of raising attainment. but invested in partnerships. I think there's an ideal partnership with community learning and development. I certainly think there's an ideal partnership with family learning. I also think that there are a number of remarkable partnerships that we can pick up on with third sector organisations. A number of the organisations I've worked with, Fight Gingerbread to name but one, are making a fantastic difference, but they're making that difference through a focus on families and not a focus on individuals. That, I think, is the key message that I would want to leave you with. That the answers in a complex world don't come from the soloists, they come from the choir. They don't come from a different place, they come from the place where people are, the place that they inhabit, the place that they return to when school is closed, either for holidays or for the day or whatever. They come from a place which encompasses more than 15,000 hours and actually impacts directly on the life of the child, on the life of those who support them. That's where transformation comes from. I hope that even in video, this has had some impact on you. I hope that somehow or other Brett's managed to make this work. If you're wondering who I am, I'm the real David Cameron. I hope that for at least some of this, I've been on fire. If you want more information or you want to make contact with me, this is my email address, therealdavidcameron@gmail.com. If you want more of my ravings, my Twitter tag's right there, RealDCameron. And if you want to contact me for any other reason, here's my mobile number. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.